Thank you and good afternoon. It's good to be back in Charlotte, and as I'd imagine every other coach has been up here over the last 3 days, the whole goal is to end up back here in Charlotte the first weekend in December. The big thing in our program, the big message in our program this year is really don't tell me a lot about your goals, your expectations, tell me about your standards to reach those goals. And the one thing I will say about what our guys have done since we returned to school in January is they have worked with an intentionality, a business-like demeanor, where they feel like they can do more. And we just met as a staff. We went over all of our numbers from the summer running and conditioning and lifting period. This is the strongest team we've had at Duke in the last 4 years. This is the fastest team we've had at Duke in the last 4 years since our strength coach David Feely has been around. And really with those two things being together, that if we get challenged into a arm wrestling competition, we should expect to come on top. And if anybody wants to run relay races against us, we'd feel confident that we can win relay races. The issue is we have a football season coming up. And I think the question now will be, will our football team be able to sustain their standard of work, which because they've done an amazing job up to this point. Can you sustain that over a 4-week training camp period? And then I think the biggest challenge in college football is, can you be the same team for 48 consecutive quarters, right? You get assigned 12 games. You got 48 quarters in those 12 games. And in a league that's so tightly packed, that's so competitive, you think about all 48, it could be 2 or 3 quarters that dictates who's back here in December and who's not. And so I think our players understand that. I am proud of the way that they've worked and the way they've prepared this offseason, and we will open camp. We report Sunday night. We'll have our first practice Monday morning. It'll be great to get the guys back on the grass and now see from a football standpoint, can they put it together where we can challenge to win shiny things at the end of the year. And so with that, I will open it up for questions.
Coach, thank you. Folks, if you would, please identify yourselves and the agency you are with. We saw a first hand go up even before Coach's final comments, so we'll go left side towards the center of the aisle. And if you would, from about the third row back, if you would, please stand. That would be a great help given the lights.
Billy Umbody with On3 Sports. Coach, do you have any key position battles that you're looking forward to seeing get resolved or get worked through in fall camp as you guys get underway?
Well, I mean, you want to come in with a sense of competition at all spots, right? I mean, you want guys to feel that they're being pushed at all times. You have experienced guys like you have on the stage, like a Chandler Rivers or Wesley Williams, but you still have guys behind them. Everybody's competing for something. No one can play at the same level they played a year ago for us to have the kind of success that we want to have. And so it's how do I be a better version of what I was, in the past. So, if you look at where we had losses from our team a year ago, certainly we've got some wide receivers, some new guys. We have some younger guys. A lot of those guys weren't on our skill positions, our wideouts and our tight ends were not available to us in spring, either through transfer or through rehab. So that'll be an important time for us over the next 4 weeks to really develop that continuity and chemistry in our passing attack. On offense, it's certainly depth in our secondary, losing some of the guys that we lost. We're proud of what we have up front. But in defensively, you're only as good, when I talk about sustaining a level of play for 48 straight quarters, you're only as good as you're too deep. And so it's important that whatever we think about Wesley Williams or VJ Anthony, that Tyshawn Reed or Samaj Turner, Kobe Smith, whoever's behind him, Kevin O'Connor, that those guys are all fighting as hard. And I think that's the great thing we've got more of this fall than we had a year ago is we've got proper competition. So whether it's something that appears to be an opening on the depth chart, I expect everybody on Monday competing as if their job depended on it because, to be honest, it does.
Coach, right side, second row.
Royal Howell, the Juice Network. Coach, can you just speak on just how valuable Chandler Rivers has just been under your program? I believe last year he allowed a season high 13 completions, which is just unheard of. A future NFL first-round pick, in my opinion. 9 pressures from the quarterback position. Just how valuable has he been in the Duke program?
Well, he's been extremely valuable because he affects winning in so many ways. I think with what we do schematically, I think he's a great fit, either whether he's playing on the outside at corner and his ability to bump and run against some of the bigger receivers there, or come into the slot and shut down slot receivers like he did last year at, in Raleigh. But where he's also really special, he's got a phenomenal knack for being a great blitzer. And not everybody will do that. Some guys will get back there and they just can't find a way to make a play. And as you know, we like to get after the quarterback in our system. So the problem is you want him covering and blitzing on the same play, right? There's only one of them on the field. So that's why I talk about in terms of, we're proud of what he's done. We know that he wants to step his game up to another level to reach some of those goals that you had. So again, it's more about what your standards are. But I also want him to inspire some of the younger guys in his room to take the same type of leap that he did, coming from his first to second to third year, for us to really be a complete defense.
Coach, left side, first row.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. A year into establishing the culture that you want at Duke, what have you seen from this team and kind of those foundational pillars that you've been looking to put up here with the Blue Devils, and how you've seen the house essentially come together?
Right. Well, it's funny. I mean, if you go to a media days, right, you can take a shot every time a coach says the word culture, right? I mean, it's all everybody talks about is culture. I really believe at Duke, the locker room sets a culture. It's one of the things I've learned in my 18 months at the university is the school attracts such a unique subset of individuals. And when those individuals get in a locker room together, there's a like-mindedness. I mean, what is culture anyway, right? Culture is supposed to be some fancy thing that coaches say, some stuff you put on a wall that makes people act a certain way for and to one another. These guys already do that. A coach wants the team to be hardworking and wants them to be disciplined and wants them to sacrifice. These guys couldn't get into Duke without being raised in that manner. So guess what? When you come to a locker room at Duke, there's already an expectation from your teammates that this is how we work. There's already an expectation that we're going to be disciplined. There's an expectation that we're going to sacrifice for each other. We're going to be unselfish. So I've been more in awe of them. I mean, certainly as a coach, you have to lay out your vision and how we're going to go about doing X, Y, and Z. But when I watched us play last year, I was more in awe of just watching how our guys play so hard for each other. And in an era where the sport is becoming more and more transactional and you see almost like independent contractors, I really do believe that we have a chance to build a proper team. And I think that's why we prevailed in so many close games a year ago, is because we were a team that didn't flinch, that was mentally tough and believed in one another, seeing whether it came down to the last play of the game, that we had each other's back to do it. And again, that's something a coach will say, that's because of me and all my great, it ain't because of me. It's just because of who they are and how they were raised.
Coach, right side, fourth row.
Ranjan Jindal, Duke Chronicle. Coach, you're coming off one of your best recruiting classes in Duke history. How have you pitched the Duke vision to the incoming recruits, and how do you think that's been seen by the new generation of Duke?
Well, I think what we have been able to accomplish because of our administration, giving full support to make Duke football excellent, is for a long time the decision to come to Duke was, you're going to get the elite academics. With those elite academics, that's going to set you up for life after football, which everyone's going to face life after football at some point. And those two things are still true. The question was, can I compete for championships and can I get to the National Football League? And maybe there's an idea like, well, you know what, I'm going to go for the academics and maybe I'm going to settle a little bit on the football side. I think with whether it's this past recruiting class, but most importantly, it's the guys in our locker room, guys on the stage, they believe that you can accomplish all four things here now at Duke. And to be honest, there's not very many schools in the country where you can really go 4 for 4. You can compete for championships and go to the National Football League, but you're not getting an education that's going to help you life after football. You may get a piece of paper that says you graduated college. There's plenty of those getting passed out, but that doesn't mean that you have a proper education. So I think the experience we have here at Duke and being able to meet all 4 goals really puts us in a unique place. And then the fact that the guys who come for those 4 goals want to stay here over the course of their whole time is why we have some of the fewest amount of exits in the transfer portal, because our guys want to be around and they want to accomplish all 4 of those things, and they know they can.
Left side, second row.
Chris Powell, Couch Coach Live. Coach, how has the transfer portal reshaped your approach to roster building?
Well, probably about the same as everybody. You have the ability to reshape your roster, but you can reshape your roster, and again, that word I mentioned before, you can also reshape your culture if you're not careful. So I always say this is not fantasy football. You have to look at not just what the impact of what the player does on the field, but what they do in the locker room. And you got to make sure you bring the right people into your program. So the first question that we ask anytime we're going to take a transfer is when that guy walks in the building, do the current players say, thank God that guy's here? Because that guy walks in and say, why did they bring him in? In theory, that's going to lead to a problem. It doesn't lead to a problem when the guy first shows up in the offseason. It may lead to a problem in the fourth quarter of a key game. So morale is always above everything in every decision we make, and we have to make sure that the team knows that, when you do have the ability to add a couple guys, that they're there for the right reasons because they're the right people. We want to be a developmental program because we can be, because what I mentioned in the last answer, we want guys to stay at Duke for 4 years to meet their goals, but it is nice to be able to have the portal to make more surgical type of cuts to your roster.
Still on the left, Coach, now in the first row.
Coach Justin Jones, CarolinaGridiron.com. You stated like the non-transactional philosophy for NIL, emphasizing the sustainable program, like the right people and the right values. How do you ensure that some substantial NIL deals align with and reinforce your non-transactional culture, rather than just purely financial incentive for players?
Well, because you can have, they're not mutually exclusive, right? You know what I mean? I mean, the revenue sharing era is here, right? The guys are getting what they've been long overdue, their just reward. And so you can have that. So you just have to decide how are we going to have this culture, which, by the way, it's not like you have to invent this. That's the same way that in any organization, anybody in this room works, there's a way that people are compensated for their work. So I don't know why it would be any different. And you want to create a culture where the people who do the best work are compensated the best way. The people who have the greatest value are rewarded in the proper way. So, like I said, there's nothing, it's new to college football. It's not new to capitalism and economics. So, I think it's still a relationship business, and I think the players are still watching to see who you are and how you treat them. And if it's simply just, services rendered and services returned, I think at some point that's going to crack under the pressure of the season. You don't have to, be Sherlock Holmes to look at some teams around the country the last couple of years who had high expectations at the media days like this and ended up not being what everybody thought they were. And that's probably something that you could dust for fingerprints in that area.
Going to see if we can squeeze in our last question just to the right.
Hey, Coach. Thomas Christopher from the League Winners. After Mike Elko's departure, you prioritized rebuilding trust with players through one-on-ones and open communication. How has that trust translated into team cohesion, and what's the culture like going into this season?
It's funny. I think back to that. I remember the one-on-one I had with you, Wes. I imagine I would have met with you too, Chan. Yeah, it was crazy. Look, we say trust is consistency over time. So no matter what I said on that first day, and I don't know if Wes remembers what I said at all, they're still going to watch you. You come in, you have your first meeting, you say, hey, here's how we're going to do things. And, the players, they may nod their head, but they want to see, are you going to be the same guy tomorrow, next week, whatever. And then, are you the same guy as you go through a season? You don't really get to know people until you get into more high-stress environments like what the football season brings. I think that's what I'm really proud of, is how we grew through the last fall, winning some of those close games in the beginning of the year that really kind of kicked us off to have a really good 9-win season. And I'll close that answer with this. I do remember what Wes said to me is he said, we go on campus and we feel like we're around the best of the best, talking about the Duke student body. But he then said, when I come in our locker room, he goes, I believe we have the best locker room of anywhere in the country. And he laughed and said, I know I can't prove that because I haven't been in other locker rooms, but we really believe that we have the best locker room culture anywhere. And that's why what I told you about who sets the culture at Duke, they're the ones that set the culture. So as much as they learned about me and what my vision was, I really had to learn how to do it here at Duke. And that's what, again, I'm humbled to have that opportunity. I'm proud of these guys that I get to coach. I'm grateful for the support that I get from Nina King and Vincent Price, our president. And like I said, we're ready to roll. And now it's just a matter of, can we hold it together and can we be the same people for the next 4 weeks, and then can we do the same thing for the next 48 quarters?